Okay. Okay, let's press on then. Our next area is environmental advocate. We got Mr. Peter Bella. Okay. Oh, let me just introduce you here. He is a former natural resource director for the Alamo Area Council of Government, lead organizer for March for Science in 2019, and environmental advocate.
Thank you. So thanks for having me out. It was my pleasure to sit with y'all in the front couple of rows here because when I spent time at ACOG, I got to know a lot of folks who serve their communities, and really work on behalf of their citizens. And it was a good reminder to sit with y'all and understand some of the challenges that I know you face. And so as it says, I was also on the steering committee for the Climate Action and Adaptation Plan by the City of San Antonio. So while I'm going to talk about water, I'm going to talk about it from a very, very different perspective than I think you'll often hear covered. And that is, I'm going to talk about climate change. Next slide, please. Now this next slide has a couple of bullet points, as it were, that are the takeaways for people who are not familiar with what climate change is and why climate change is a problem. Main takeaway here on these slides is the idea that climate change is getting more and more dynamic. We're getting storms, and we'll talk about storms, that are more frequent and have a much bigger impact. And the key thing that people may not think about is when it gets warmer, air can hold more water. Could you roll the slide, please?
So it is not your imagination. Storms are hitting differently now, and here's why. I'm meteorologist Andrew Kozak with CBS News, and no, they aren't controlling the weather, but the climate, that's changing fast. Flooding isn't just more frequent, it's getting more intense. See, as the earth warms, the atmosphere warms too, and warmer air can hold more moisture. It's basic physics. So for every 1 degree Fahrenheit increase in temperature, the air can hold about 4% more moisture. Think of the sky like a sponge. The hotter it gets, the more water it can soak up. And when that sponge squeezes, it pours. That means heavier rainfall, faster flash floods, bigger impacts. And we're seeing it everywhere. New York, Texas, Vermont, Europe, Asia. This isn't cloud seeding. This isn't some covert operation. It's climate change, and it's playing out in real time. But here's the good news. The more we understand it, the better we can prepare, adapt, and protect the people and the places that we care about. Because weather is changing, but we don't have to be caught off guard.
So again, the idea that we love our communities. I was born and raised in San Antonio. It's 20 miles away, and it's 2 hours if you have to get on 90. But we love our communities, and we want to know, we want to understand what we need to understand. And this is key. Next slide, please. Quickly, climate change doesn't make weather. Climate change makes weather worse. Climate change, with that loading the atmosphere with water, means it's going to change things. Weather in Texas was 7% wetter on July 4th than it was before the climate change warmed that part of the state. So that's a technical analysis. And you may say 7%, well, that's 7%. But the real point is that that's growing. The heat is growing, and the storms are going to be more frequent and intense. And I would say, and believe me, folks, this is not me being lighthearted when I say we should have known before Kerrville happened. We should have been prepared. And I know I've got emergency management in the room. Man, I get it. Again, I come from ACOG. I get it. That it's very difficult to just do the best you can and do a great job when something new like climate change comes along. Could I have the next slide, please? And if you'll click that little button on that GIF, there you go. This is what the National Weather Service Station put out 5 days before Winter Storm Uri hit in 2021, 7 days before we got the worst temperatures of Uri. 7 days, and we almost had a blackout. Next slide, please. We had historic low temperatures across the country. Next slide, please. And people died. We should have done better. And again, I'm not faulting anybody. I know we're only human. But we need to do better, don't we? Next slide, please. 2 years later, record heat. San Antonio had 75 days of temperatures at or over 100 degrees in San Antonio, setting new records in extremes and duration, more intense and frequent. Over 300 Texans died from the heat, the most since the state started tracking such data. Next slide, please. And, you know, I'm sure we all have a heavy heart. Next slide, please.
Let me show you where we go from here, both with today's rain chances and especially Thursday into 4th of July Friday. This particular computer model has been consistent on bringing some really heavy rain. But that said, it's kind of out there. It's an outlier on how much we could see. But it does show the potential of what this tropical air mass could do for us. All right, let me stop rambling. Let's get into it. This afternoon, there's that scattered rain and storm chance, especially during the heat of the day before it settles down later tonight. The crux of the forecast is going to be what happens with the remnant low pressure system after it's done moving northwestward along the Rio Grande. It's going to try to make a turn towards the east and northeast thereafter. If this happens, we have a storm system essentially right on top of us with all this tropical fuel in place. Not only are we looking at a few rounds of heavy rain and storms on Thursday, but some of that could linger into Thursday night. Friday morning, some slow-moving downpours, having a hard time moving because they're so close to this spin of low pressure. It's not until this is starting to settle towards southeast Texas late on Friday afternoon and evening that we'll start bringing our rain chances down. Now, if what I just showed you is something to be believed, we're looking at some incredible tropical rainfall totals. I hesitate to show you this because it's so outlandish, but what I just showed you is producing 5 to 15 inches of rain somewhere in central Texas. Again, I think that's pretty far-fetched. You can't rule out something crazy happening when you have this kind of tropical air in place. We'll have to watch for it just in case, but the more sensible solution of what we get in the bucket is going to be anywhere from a ½ inch to up to 3 inches of rain, somewhere along or west of I-35.
Next slide, please. So the takeaways that I find with this, kind of twofold. One, the idea it's so outlandish. Maybe it was, but it happened. And the idea, the more sensible solution. We all grow up living our lives, learning lessons from life, and we think we know a lot, but it's when we get in a pattern and we expect the past to teach us about the future. Sometimes we're wrong, you know it? And this is one of those cases. Next slide, please. This is an editorial that was in last Sunday's San Antonio Express News and the Austin American Statesman. Texas magical thinking won't stop world's warming. Next slide, please. So I won't read the first 3 sentences of the editorial, which is what you see there. But the idea is that because there's a special session, well, they'll be considering thoughts, what to do next about what happened in Kerrville. And of course they should. My point remains, you got to be thinking about new ways of dealing with what we're facing in Texas. And I consider climate change to be at that core. When they discuss extreme weather, flooding infrastructure, alert systems, emergency communications, relief funding, and disaster preparedness and recovery, they will be talking about climate change. Next slide, please. From a meteorologist out in College Station, a professor out there at A&M. Again, climate change, the heating of the atmosphere, you're adding water to the atmosphere. You're gonna get heavier storms. And that last quote is what really catches me. The idea of the heavier storms because it's getting warmer. This actually is one of the oldest predictions in climate science. It was made long before it was seen. Climate models were predicting this. We should know this. We should know this, and this should be part of our planning and part of our understanding that the future is going to be different than the past was. Next slide. Next slide. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Okay, wow, that was very good too.